There is a moment almost every woman has lived through. You send a message to the man you love, and you see that little green dot or the word online glowing next to his name. You wait. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Still no reply. And in those 5 minutes, your mind is no longer in the present. It has already written a whole painful story. Maybe he doesn't care anymore. Maybe he is talking to someone else. Maybe his love is fading away. Your chest tightens. The heart beats faster. Your fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to type a dozen questions, a dozen accusations. Why aren't you answering me? Who are you with? Don't I matter to you anymore? And at the same time, you feel the sting of shame for even thinking that way. You know, you might sound needy, but the silence feels louder than any words. If you've ever been in this moment, you know how exhausting it is. Because it's not just about him being late to reply. It's about the storm inside you. The fear of being abandoned, the anxiety of not being enough, the old wounds that whisper, see? You're not truly loved. Those 5 minutes turn into a mirror, reflecting back all the insecurities you thought you had outgrown. And here's the truth. This reaction is more common than you think. Women who are strong, capable, intelligent in every other part of life still find themselves undone by something as small as a delayed text. You can negotiate contracts at work, take care of family, manage countless responsibilities. But one unread message has the power to shake your entire sense of peace. The saddest part is, when we let that storm take over, we don't just hurt ourselves. We hurt the relationship. The anxious messages, the sharp tone, the accusations, they create distance, not closeness. Instead of drawing him in, they push him away. What started as love turns into pressure, and both people walk away feeling misunderstood. But here's the beautiful thing. That very moment, the silence, the waiting, the racing thoughts, can also be your doorway to growth. It's a chance to pause, to see your patterns clearly, and to choose differently. Because love doesn't grow in panic. Love grows in trust and calmness and the ability to hold yourself steady even when the other person is quiet. And that is what we're going to explore today. How to stop overreacting and start responding with grace, clarity, and confidence. Why do we tend to overreact? Ava remembers one evening when she waited for a reply that never came. She had sent a simple message, nothing heavy, nothing complicated. But the hours stretched on and her phone stayed silent. At first, she thought he must be busy. Then the silence began to take shape in her mind. Maybe he was losing interest. Maybe he had found someone else. Maybe he was already preparing to leave. By the time he finally replied with a casual, "Sorry, I was caught up at work," Ava had already lived through an entire heartbreak in her head. She realized later that her reaction was far bigger than the situation itself. But in the moment, it felt so real, so consuming, as if her whole world was collapsing over a missed text. Why does this happen to so many of us? Why can one tiny spark set our emotions on fire until it feels like a storm? The truth is, overreactions often have less to do with what is happening right now, and more to do with what has happened before. Many women carry invisible stories in their hearts, memories of being ignored, abandoned, or left behind. When something small triggers that old wound, the pain resurfaces instantly, as if the past is happening all over again. What looks like an exaggerated response to the present is often a raw echo of the past. It is not just this moment we are reacting to, but every moment that ever made us feel unseen, unworthy, or unloved. Science also offers us an answer. Our emotions travel faster than our logic. The human nervous system is wired for survival, which means it reacts first and asks questions later. When you feel hurt, rejected, or threatened, your body sounds the alarm before your brain has the chance to calmly investigate. That is why your chest tightens, your pulse races, and your thoughts spiral before you even know what is really happening. By the time reason catches up, your emotions have already taken the lead. Overreaction, then, is not a sign of weakness. It is a natural consequence of how we are built. Another reason lies in the pace of modern life. We rarely give ourselves space to pause, breathe, and reflect. Instead, we live in constant motion, scrolling, responding, reacting. Without that pause, our minds leap to conclusions. A single scene without a reply can become a silent rejection. A delayed call can transform into proof of fading love. We build entire narratives on fragments of evidence, and because we never stop to question them, they feel true. The drama is not in reality. It is in the story we create about reality. And for women, there is something deeper at play. From a young age, many of us are raised to be sensitive to the emotions of others. We are encouraged to care, to notice, to respond. This sensitivity is a gift. It allows us to empathize, to connect, to nurture. But like every gift, it has a shadow. When we are so finely tuned to the emotions around us, we also become vulnerable to interpreting silence, absence, or delay as rejection. Our strength in feeling deeply can turn against us when we do not know how to hold it. Think about it. How many times have you imagined the worst before the truth even arrived? How many times have you cried over a story that only existed in your own head? This is the paradox of overreaction. It feels unbearable in the moment, yet when the truth finally comes, we often see that the reality was never as cruel as the version we created. And still, we repeat the cycle because the fear of being hurt again keeps our hearts on high alert. Overreaction, then, is not simply about being too emotional. It is about history carried in our bodies, about biology moving faster than reason, about a culture that teaches women to feel deeply, but not always to regulate those feelings. Once you see it this way, you may stop judging yourself so harshly. Your reaction is not madness, it is a map. It points to the places where you still ache, where you still need space to breathe, where your story still longs for healing. And the moment you understand this, you hold the first key to changing it. The difference between reacting and responding. Have you ever noticed how quickly emotions can take over when something unexpected happens? One moment you feel calm, and the next, you are caught in a storm of words and impulses. This is the difference between reacting and responding. And learning to recognize it can transform not only your mental health, but also the quality of your relationships. Reacting happens in an instant. It is like a spark that turns into a fire. You feel the heat of anger, disappointment, or frustration, and before you even realize it, the words leave your mouth. A sharp message, a raised tone, a comment you later wish you had not said. It feels powerful in the moment, but once the fire dies down, all that is left is regret. Reactions may satisfy your emotions temporarily, but they rarely serve your heart in the long run. Responding, on the other hand, is like lighting a candle. It requires pause, presence, and intention. Instead of letting emotions sweep you away, you allow yourself a breath. You observe what is happening both outside and inside of you. And from that place of calm, you choose words and actions that align with your values. A response is gentle yet strong, soft yet steady, like a flame that glows without burning out. Imagine this. Your boyfriend arrives 30 minutes late to a date. If you react, you might send a series of angry texts questioning his respect for you. The conversation becomes a battlefield, fueled by accusations and defenses. But if you respond, you wait until he arrives, look him in the eye, and ask calmly, "What happened?" This single choice shifts the entire atmosphere. Instead of adding more tension, you open the door to understanding. Responding does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means giving them space to breathe before they explode. It is the art of holding your emotions with compassion, then expressing them in a way that protects both your peace and the connection you care about. Think of it as choosing the candle over the wildfire, light that lasts instead of flames that destroy. For women who carry both tenderness and strength, this practice is a gift. It reminds you that your power is not in how loudly you react, but in how gracefully you respond. Every time you pause before speaking, you are reclaiming your freedom from emotions that once controlled you. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you are shaping a love story that feels safe, honest, and respectful. When you learn to respond, you are not just improving your relationships, you are also nurturing your mental health. Because peace of mind is not found in silencing your feelings, but in expressing them with clarity and wisdom. And when you do, you discover that true strength is not fire, but light. There is a quiet kind of strength in the women who know how to pause before they speak. We often imagine strength as being loud, quick, or sharp. But true strength, the kind that brings peace instead of chaos, lies in the moments you can hold your feelings long enough to choose how to express them. So, how do you move from being the girl who reacts in anger to becoming the woman who responds with calm clarity? That transformation begins with small steps, each one simple but powerful enough to reshape your entire way of being. Step 1, pause. It sounds almost too simple, but pausing is an act of courage. When emotions rise, your body wants to act immediately. Your heart races, your breath shortens, your hands want to type that angry message or raise your voice. In that instant, every part of you believes that acting right away will bring relief. But the truth is, even a few seconds of silence can change everything. Imagine you're about to send a message saying, "Why are you ignoring me?" Instead, you put the phone down, close your eyes, and breathe. Count slowly from 1 to 10. That pause becomes a bridge. On one side is the storm of emotion, on the other side is the steadiness of your mind. Without pausing, you get stuck in the storm. With it, you give yourself a chance to cross over. One woman I spoke with shared that the first time she tried pausing, it felt like fighting herself. Every part of her wanted to argue, to demand answers, to make noise. Instead, she splashed cold water on her face, sat quietly, and simply breathed. 10 minutes later, she returned calmer, able to see things more clearly. The situation hadn't changed, but she had. That is the gift of pausing. It doesn't erase what happened, but it gives you space to decide who you want to be in that moment. Step 2, name your feelings. This is where the power of language meets the depth of self-awareness. When emotions go unnamed, they spin in your chest like a storm, overwhelming and out of control. But the moment you put them into words, they soften. Whisper to yourself, "I feel anxious. I feel left out. I feel scared." This is not weakness. It is reclaiming control over your inner world. Think of a child crying because they don't understand what they're feeling. The moment someone kneels down and says, "You're sad, aren't you?" the child calms because they feel seen. Your emotions work the same way. When you name them, you soothe yourself. Ava once practiced this on a night when her boyfriend hadn't replied to her message. Instead of sending another text, she sat still and said to herself, "I feel insecure. I'm afraid he doesn't care." The fear didn't disappear, but it no longer felt like a monster in the dark. It became something she could gently sit with. By naming her feelings, she created distance between herself and her emotions. She realized, "I am not the anxiety. I am the one noticing the anxiety." That simple act of naming transformed raw emotion into awareness, and awareness is the foundation of every wise response. It pulls you out of the wave and places you on the shore, where you can watch the tide without being drowned by it. Step 3, ask before you assume. This step is harder than it looks, because our minds love to create stories. Ava used to let her imagination run wild whenever she didn't hear back from her partner. Hours of silence would grow into hours of doubt. She would create entire scenarios in her head. Maybe he was losing interest, maybe he was with someone else. Her heart would race, her stomach would tighten, and soon the silence on the screen became a megaphone for every hidden fear inside her. But one evening, instead of spiraling, she stopped herself. She remembered all the time she herself had been too busy, too tired, too distracted to respond immediately. She asked herself, "Is this really about me? Or could it simply be life?" Instead of guessing, she typed, "I noticed you haven't replied yet. Is everything okay?" That single question dissolved the storm. When he called later, he explained he had been stuck at work. Nothing more, nothing less. By asking instead of assuming, she saved herself a night of pain and prevented a fight that never needed to happen. This is the power of curiosity. It opens a door where assumptions build walls. It invites truth in, where imagination fuels fear. Every gentle question you ask is a chance to replace doubt with clarity. Step 4, shift your focus back to yourself. Even after you pause, name your feelings, and ask questions, there will still be moments when the silence or uncertainty lingers. This is where you reclaim your power by redirecting your attention inward. Ava promised herself that whenever she started spiraling, she would stop and choose herself. One evening, instead of staring at her phone, she reached for the book collecting dust on her shelf. Another time, she slipped on her shoes and went for a walk, letting the rhythm of her steps bring her back into her body. On a quiet night, she filled the bathtub with warm water, lit a candle, and played her favorite music. As she cared for her skin and let the tension of the day melt away, she realized she wasn't counting minutes or replaying conversations in her head. She was living. That is the heart of self-love. Not grand gestures or perfect confidence, but the small, tender choices that remind you your life is full, whole, and beautiful, whether or not someone else presses send. Shifting your focus isn't ignoring the situation. It's reminding yourself that your worth isn't frozen, waiting for another person's attention. It's alive right here in you. Step 5. Respond with intention. This is the moment where everything comes together. After pausing, naming your feelings, asking questions, and shifting your focus, you are finally ready to respond. And the difference is striking. Before, Ava might have fired back with sharp words. Why didn't you reply? Or a cold silence full of disappointment. Those reactions never brought peace. They only widened the distance. But this time she breathed, felt her heart, and chose her words carefully. She wrote, "I'm glad to hear from you. I did feel a little worried, but I'm happy you're okay." Her message was honest, but it came from love instead of fear. That night, she discovered the essence of intentional response. It doesn't mean pretending you're not hurt. It means expressing yourself without letting your hurt control the way you speak. It's standing in your truth while still offering respect to yourself and to the other person. Each time she practiced this, Ava grew stronger. She realized her responses could either build bridges or burn them. When she responded with calm and intention, she not only protected her relationship, she also deepened her respect for herself. Because real maturity is not about never feeling anger, fear, or sadness. It's about not letting those emotions speak louder than your heart. These 5 steps are not magic. They won't erase your feelings or guarantee a perfect outcome every time. But they are tools, gentle, steady tools, that allow you to stop living at the mercy of every wave of emotion. With practice, you will find yourself less reactive, more grounded, and more at peace. And little by little, you will notice the shift. You are no longer the woman who lets every silence, every delay, every uncertainty tear her apart. You are the woman who pauses, reflects, asks, tends to herself, and then responds with grace. And that is the kind of strength that not only transforms your relationships, but transforms you. At the end of the day, you can't control how others behave, but you can always control how you respond. And that calm response is not weakness. It's the quiet power of a woman who has grown, who no longer allows chaos outside to dictate the peace inside. That kind of composure is what we call soft strength, the strength that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove, but still speaks louder than anger ever could. Remember this, every time you choose calm over reaction, patience over impulse, you're not just protecting your peace, you're rewriting your story. You are showing yourself that maturity isn't about what happens to you, but about how you rise above it. And that is the essence of self-love and true mental health. If this video touched you, hit follow and join Aura Rise as we go deeper into the journey of self-love and mental health. And if you've ever found yourself overreacting in love or in life, share your story in the comments. Let's grow, heal, and rise together.